Okay, good morning, everyone. My name is Gina Ford. I'm the Communications Director for Prince George's County Executive Angela Alsobrooks. We'd like to thank you all for joining us this morning in Drew Freeman Middle School. Obviously, there's going to be a pretty significant vote coming this evening, and today the County Executive and Dr. Goldson just wanted to pull everybody together to discuss why this public-private partnership, or their alternative finance construction plan, is so important. So first we'll hear from our County Executive, Angela Alsobrooks, followed by PGCPS CEO, Dr. Monica Goldson. We'll hear from Council Chair Todd Turner, and followed by Prince George's Chamber of Commerce CEO, David Harrington.
Good morning, everyone, and thank you so much for being here. I see we have Elsie Jacobs, one of our community leaders here. I want to thank her so much. I know she is very excited. I'm excited to be here at Drew Freeman this morning, and I'm also glad to be joined by CEO of our Prince George's County Public Schools, Dr. Monica Goldson. I want to thank her so much for her leadership. I want to thank her entire team. They have done an amazing job on this plan, and we are just really, really pleased to be here. I'd like to also acknowledge and thank Chair Todd Turner of our Prince George's County Council, as well as Vice Chair Calvin Hawkins and other council members who are here today to support the Alternative Construction Finance Plan. I'd also like to thank David Harrington, President and CEO of the Prince George's County Chamber of Commerce. Thank you so much, David. He served us just mightily in our community, and he's representing today our business community, which will benefit tremendously from this plan. This will create generational opportunities for small, minority, and local county-based businesses. So we're really pleased to have him here as well. I'd also like to thank our legislative team who in Annapolis this year, our legislators, our delegates, our senators who passed a plan unanimously, fought really hard over the last two legislative sessions to make sure that this plan came to fruition. And I'd also like to thank, most importantly, all of our Prince George's County Public School parents. I'd like to thank our beautiful children also who have engaged on this issue and understand well the opportunity that this alternative construction finance plan represents for our students and our families. And to be quite frank with you, and I think you'll hear this over and over again, this has been a long time coming. It is well needed and well deserved by all of our families who have said to us they did not want delay. They did not want us to be bound up in bureaucracy. They wanted action and progress, and that is what today represents to us. Speaking of our students, the school year is in full swing, and I'm so proud of our children who have made the most of distance learning during this pandemic. They are resilient, and I'm sure that they cannot wait to get back to school. If they're anything like my daughter, they miss their friends, and we know that sooner rather than later, we're going to be able to be back together in school, and we know that this pandemic will be behind us, and when that happens, they need a safe place to learn. I'd like to offer a quote for everyone to consider, and it is that education is the key to unlock the golden door of freedom. George Washington Carver wrote this in a letter to Booker T. Washington in 1896. Back then, they were discussing how to provide education for Black Americans during the Reconstruction period. But the sentiment is broadly applicable, and it is just as true today as it was a century ago. We know that education in this country is the great equalizer. Prince George's County Education and Community Partners has been selected by the Alternative Construction Finance Program to build 6 new schools in Prince George's County. These schools will help hardworking families and students who need them most. Students who are in Suitland, Maryland, where I began. I was born in Suitland, Maryland. Schools in Landover, Capitol Heights, Adelphi, and Hyattsville. Each of these schools will provide students new educational opportunities they may not have otherwise gotten except for the support of the Alternative Construction Finance Program. Our county's children currently attend schools in Maryland's second oldest facilities. What we know is that over 40% of our buildings were constructed nearly 60 years ago. These buildings now must be replaced or completely renovated. Projections tell us that enrollment in our county schools will only increase in the coming years, and the cost of keeping up our growing student enrollment and aging infrastructure are enormous and only rising. Without new thinking, we will not get through our maintenance and construction backlog, which I'm sure Dr. Golson will tell you now amounts to over $8.5 billion. The Alternative Construction Financing Plan is an important new tool in our toolbox for students. First, the upgraded learning environments will create space for approximately 8,000 students. And with this, we'll be able to build these schools faster and at a cost savings. In addition, our county businesses, including minority-owned businesses, will benefit from this plan to build new schools. This plan is estimated to bring 3,000 jobs and provide capacity building for small, county-based businesses. It also doubles state small and minority business inclusion goals by ensuring local and minority business participation through every stage of this project. Prince George's County Education and Community Partners will allocate approximately $225 million to local and minority-owned businesses over the life of the program, with an estimated $135 million expected to be distributed in the first 4 years of this alone. And it also includes plans to set up and implement business and workforce development programs, student internships, apprenticeships, scholarships for our county, and scholarships for our county residents. The Prince George's County Council, and I want to thank Councilmember Danielle Glaros, who is here with us today, actually created the Alternative Construction Funding Workshop and work group in 2018 to research this issue. So this has been well studied. It has been given a lot of thought. And after study and review and a whole lot of work, we met weekly almost for the last 2 years during the Maryland General Assembly. And I want to thank Chair Turner, who has been an active participant, as well as Vice Chair Calvin Hawkins. And in that legislative session, they made the Alternative Construction Financing Plan possible. This was legislation that I, along with Dr. Golson, on behalf of the school system, Dr. Thornton, on behalf of the school board, as well as Council Chair Turner, on behalf of the council, testified in favor of and fought for in Annapolis. This process has been open, it has been transparent, it has received a lot of constructive input, and it has been done thoughtfully with the best interest of our children in mind. The details show us that alternative construction financing, in this case, is an efficient and cost-effective way we can build new schools for our students. It does not require, and this is so important because there has been given a lot of information, and we want to make sure that this is clear, is that it does not require a penny of additional taxpayer dollars. It is money that comes from our school's capital budget that will be earmarked to fund this construction. And the reason that that is so important, it's important for our families to understand that we don't take a single penny out of the classroom. This doesn't affect teachers' salaries. It does not affect the money that we invest in the classroom for our students. This money comes from a capital budget. And what this simply does is allows us to earmark for this fund. This is the type of innovative solution I promised, and we each promised, to bring to residents and their families when I became county executive, and it's exactly what we're going to deliver. The benefits of this plan are evident, and the urgency of this moment is real. If we wait, our student enrollment will only continue to increase. Our school buildings will grow older, and we can't predict that the state budget will make adequate funding available for school construction. So as we seek a favorable response on this plan, let me just say this, that our decisions, all of us, we're all charged with making decisions for the families in this county. We're charged with making responsible decisions for the children of this community. And ultimately, the decisions that we make speak volumes about what we value. And I have to say that actions do really speak much louder than words, and it is time for us to take action on behalf of our children, their families, and our communities. And so I urge everybody to watch, not only us, but everyone involved in this process, because the decisions that we make speak volumes about what we value. For every child in Prince George's County, we know that your education is the key to your future. Key to more opportunity, more knowledge, and more freedom in the future. The alternative construction financing program will benefit our residents, our businesses, and above all, our students. And so now it is my pleasure to welcome our truly dynamic PGCPS CEO, Dr. Monica Golson, who will speak next. Thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Madam County Executive. There's so many people I want to thank, but I want to do that quickly so that I can get to some additional facts about where we are today. But I first want to thank our county executive for her innovation and really desire to want to move forward. When she first came on, you know, our conversation around student advocacy and making sure that our students remained a priority has always been a part of our conversation. And today is an example of those continued efforts. Some amazing folks who did a heavy lift, and that is the County Council that stands behind us now, and I am grateful for their fight over the past 3 years, because this did not just happen overnight, and for the charge that we're placing before the Board of Education for their vote this evening, because this race is not over yet, and I do still continue to need their support. But there are some folks who aren't here today that can't be, and those are our 132,000 students. Today is a school day, and I am grateful to be blessed to serve every last one of them. And they are in their homes virtually, continuing to learn from over 10,000 amazing teachers. But the truth of the matter is that when we return on February 1st, they will enter a school building that is 60 years of age. It was built before I was born, and nothing has changed in this building. All we have done is done a Band-Aid and a patchwork to this facility. And what's unfortunate is that Drew Freeman is not the only school. We have an inventory of more schools in our school system, the second largest in the state of Maryland, with a number of oldest schools in Maryland, and it's unsafe for our children. The facts are that when I started my first interim position as CEO, I had to move students from District Heights Elementary School a week before school began because of an aging building and needing to repair that building. I then started the first day of my first year as the permanent CEO, having to move students from Forest Heights Elementary School. And unfortunately, this pattern of having to start the school year where I have to move children had become too much of something so common. Our team was, who will be moved this year? And what this does, this project, is really allows us to begin to tackle thoughtfully our aging infrastructure. As I stated before, this is just 6 schools. We are still continuing the traditional interagency for school construction route. And we have the opportunity to still build a new William Wirt Middle School, a new Glen Ridge area elementary school, and a Cherokee Lane elementary school. And so while we stand before you today to talk about 6, there are 3 more schools that are also on track to be replaced. And so this is just the beginning of what we have to do for our children. I remain adamant about making sure that our students receive world-class instruction and that they do it in world-class buildings. They mean everything to the heart of our work. And I remind our staff all the time, if we don't have children, we don't have a job. So many times people approach and say, why don't we have just like someone else? And then they name that other local education agency. Well, it's time for people to start saying, why don't we have like Prince George's County? And today is the opportunity to begin that route. And so I come before you today not asking for an extra dime from our taxpayer, because I too am that taxpayer. All I am doing is being upfront about how we plan to be fiscally responsible and earmark less than 10% of our capital budget to fund 6 new buildings that students can enter in 3 years, when it typically takes us around 7 to 13. And so in our level of transparency, this conversation actually started when I was in the role of Chief of Operations 5 years ago around a master plan support project, which really looked at every last one of the buildings in our inventory. And at that time, there were 211. We are now at a point where we're putting now those words to action. And so I'm grateful to be in a position at this time where I could see that come to fruition. I'm a product of this school system. And when Roland Polite came on our telephone town hall on Monday and said, children's voices need to be heard, I want them to know that we are an example that we hear you. So thank you.
Good morning, everyone. I'm County Councilman Todd Turner. Thank you, Madam County Executive. Thank you, Dr. Goldson, for your continued strong leadership here in Prince George's County. I'm pleased to join you this morning, along with my colleagues and everyone here today, to support this historic opportunity for Prince George's County schools, staff, children, and families. I'm not only here as chair of the council, but I'm also a parent of a current student in the public school systems, as well as a graduate of a student from the Prince George's County Public Schools. And so I know firsthand some of the issues and concerns, not only as an elected official, but also as a parent. I know we have two other members of this body before us who also have children in the public school system here in Prince George's County. So I do want to recognize my colleagues who have joined us today. We have Vice Chair Calvin Hawkins, Council Member Danielle Glaros, Council Member Mel Franklin, and Council Member Harrison, and our host for today is Council Member Rodney Streeter here at Drew Freeman Middle School. Yesterday, the County Council took a vote to approve the Memorandum of Understanding and a council resolution, which will govern the Alternative Financing Construction Program. And yesterday's council's action paves the way to the path for these 6 new public schools in Prince George's County, including the one right here. It's exciting to know that this process actually begins and that nearly 8,000 of our students will be better, healthier, and learn in a more learning environment in just hopefully less than 3 years from now. It's exciting also to be heard that we stand here after several years of review, study, and advocacy led by this county, this council, this school system, and our state representatives in Annapolis to meet the growing school needs and demands for construction and renovation. And that's why we are here today. As the Board of Education prepares to make a critical decision on this project this evening, let me just briefly talk a little bit about some of that history. I know the county executive did as well, how we got here, because this is not an overnight effort. I'll bring it back and try to be as brief as I can. 2016, the Maryland General Assembly established the 21st Century School Facilities Commission, also known as the KNOC Commission, to review school construction practices in Maryland, and issued its final report in January of 2018. It had 36 recommendations, but I'll highlight one. It said the state should encourage innovation through alternative financing by providing financial incentives through alternative financing to assist one or more local education agencies interested in pursuing alternate financing to cover the associated risks. And so we had representation on that commission here in Prince George's County by Councilmember Franklin, who served on that commission, and gave our perspective with respect to that opportunity. That year, the General Assembly, through as the county executive indicated, through the efforts both of the county executive, the county council, the school system, as well as our members of the General Assembly, they passed Senate Bill 92, 2018, which is the Public School Construction Innovation Incentive Pilot Program. This established the public-private partnership model, which is now the Alternative Construction Financing Program, for school construction in Prince George's County. We were one of 3 jurisdictions given that authority. In that same year, the Prince George's Senate and House delegations established the Prince George's County School Construction Master Plan Work Group. And this was based on recommendations to review the 2017 Education Facilities Master Plan. Councilmember Franklin and I served on that work group in order to move forward additional ideas about trying to do better school construction. And then, as indicated by County Executive, 2 years ago, after the Senate bill was passed, we as the council, under the leadership of then Councilmember and Chair Danielle Glaros, established the Alternative Financing Infrastructure Work Group by resolution. And this multi-jurisdictional work group labored over the last 2 years to determine whether or not the ACF made any good financial sense. We included hiring a consultant in order to do that work, and obviously advancing this project through the different stages of the procurement process over that period of time. So I do want to recognize former Chair, Councilmember Glaros, for her leadership on the work group, and our council staff who have worked diligently over the last 2 years to get us to this point, including Inez Claggett, Leroy Maddox, and Donna Whitman, as well as the other county and public school staff that worked diligently as part of this process. And then finally, the County Council has conducted a minimum of 5 work sessions on the alternative construction financing dating back to 2018, including budget work sessions on the school's 6-year capital improvement program over the last 2 years. And I do want to recognize Councilmember Harrison, who's chair of our Education and Workforce Development Committee, for leading us in that effort as well. Well, I understand this might be a little bit technical, but it is to respond to some of the issues that are out there about this is something that happened really quickly. And you can see that's been over a 4-year process to get to this point, to where we are actually in the process, so hopefully, with the Board of Education's action tonight, to move forward this project that's desperately needed in Prince George's County. And so, listen, this is a novel, innovative, and collaborative public-private partnership approach to building schools in the county. It's an exciting undertaking, but we expect that, there's going to be additional opportunities as well as the challenges along the way. And I think the MOU that the County Council adopted yesterday provides the guide for our collective roles and responsibilities as we proceed down this path on behalf of the residents and children of this county. So the Council and I strongly encourage the endorsement of this historic project by the Board of Education this evening, and when they schedule their vote on this matter. And so I want to thank you again, Madam County Executive, for your leadership, and for Dr. Golson for yours, as well as my colleagues behind me. This is an opportunity that we have to take advantage of. It's just another opportunity, as we said, another tool in the toolbox for us to advance the issues and interests of Prince George's County. So I want to thank you again, and we look forward to the continued partnership to make sure this moves forward with all the parties involved. And so with that, I'll turn it now over to the chair of the the Prince George's County Chamber of Commerce, and former council member and former state senator, David Harrington. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. To County Executive, extraordinary leadership, innovative leadership. And in a time of COVID where other governments are cutting, you are advancing. Yes, sir. And so thank you very much for your leadership. And to Dr. Golson, when other school systems are trying to figure out how to buy books and how to keep things going, you have found a way to build new schools for our children. Thank you for your leadership. And to the County Council, I've sat in your chair. And I know how these decisions can be very tough. So to the chair and to my friends on the County Council, thank you for your leadership. To Mayor Elsie Jacobs, thank you for your extraordinary leadership in Suitland. As a former mayor, you don't have to be elected to be a mayor. You just take on the task and you do the work. And the people are blessed to have you in leadership. And to all of you that are assembled here, thank you very much. I had some remarks, and I'm gonna change them slightly. I was struck, CEOs, either you or the county executive, that said that this school is 60 years old. 60 years old. I want to put that in some perspective. I would have been 6 years old coming into a new building. And I could tell you, as a 6-year-old, I liked new things. I mean, I enjoyed Christmas holidays when my mom and dad would buy me new things. And so walking into a new building meant that I belonged. And to say that this building is 60 years old, where right now I have 2 grown sons, 2 grandchildren, County Executive, and you're still walking in this building? Something's not right. And so we have an obligation to support this accelerated program that's going to build new schools. Because every child should be able to walk in the school building and feel the newness of education in a way where they know that we support them. And so the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce with over 600 members, fully endorse this project. And we will stand behind it. Whether it causes some problems and hiccups, we're not going to be wayfarers, we're going to be supporters all the way. Until every child in Prince George's County, and I know this county executive cares about that every child in Prince George's County gets the best education. So this is a generational decision. I would call on the school board to think about this as they take this vote tonight, that this is not some whimsical decision. This is a generational moment where children will be able to walk into new school buildings, new technology, new innovation, new books, in a way that they know that doesn't matter where your zip code is, you're going to get the best education that this government can buy. And then I've never heard a project that not only takes care of the children and the teachers and the staff and the custodians, but man, this adds business. 3,000 jobs. The team that has been selected, several of them are Prince George's County businesses that are going to get equity from this project. And if I may, County Executive and CEO and Mr. Chairman, we didn't talk about where the gold is. For me, the gold is going to be in the maintenance, where the electricians in our county, the drywall hangers in our county, the HVAC repairers in our county will be able to have a 30-year contract and opportunity to maintain our schools. So someone tell me what is wrong with this project. Nothing. There's nothing wrong with this project. And so I want to congratulate the county council. I want to say to the school board, do the right thing. Vote this correctly. And on behalf of all of our members and board at the Prince George's Chamber of Commerce, what we say is we encourage you to take the right vote, endorse this, move this forward, because this is a generational opportunity that will help not only our children, but our economy. Thank you very much.
All right, with that, we'll take any questions. I do want to note that also we have Jason Washington, who's the director of the Public-Private Partnership Program through the school system. So, any questions? Brad.
So look, we've talked about this several times now. This opposition is formed a coalition. Part of the name of their coalition is Keep Public Schools Public. It sort of seems to be this philosophical opposition to this notion of the public-private partnership with regard to schools. So how do you address that?
Well, one thing I want to say is I don't want to overblow the quote opposition. Because let's just be clear, we took a vote on the county council yesterday where 8 people voted in favor of this. So we're talking about a minority who disagrees. And in this country, you get to disagree. And you get to disagree publicly. That's what this is about. Transparency means that even if you disagree, you have a right to say so. But I want to be clear that we have worked in unison on behalf of our children. And that includes the 8 county council members who stepped forward, all of them, I say, very enthusiastically, not just yesterday to vote, but have shown up week after week after week to do the work on this, forming groups to study it, to make sure that it was responsible, that we could go to not only the voters in our county, but parents and students, and ensure them that we had done our homework, to all of our state legislators, the members of our delegation, of our Senate delegation as well, who have worked, and not only that, but they have advocated throughout the state for this project. The school system, Dr. Golson and her team have worked diligently. So I do want to just make sure that we put in context what we mean by the quote opposition. The opposition is in the minority here because we have heard from these families who have said to us that they do not want any further excuses, delay, bureaucracy, political grandstanding at the expense of our children. They want action. And they want us to deliver results, and that's exactly what this is about. So this is actually a really good day for our county. And again, innovation. It means that sometimes people won't agree. And that's okay. Some people are afraid of change. They prefer to do it the same way we've done it for the last 60 years. And we say, not so much. We're moving forward. So that's what I say.
Wait, hold on.
She said it. It was our
I would just highlight and say, as it relates to public ownership, Prince George's County Public Schools will retain ownership of these facilities. These are our facilities. We are not giving over title or rights into any of these facilities, so they will stay public. All we are doing is providing an availability payment for the continued maintenance and upkeep of our buildings over the next 30 years. So.
Will?
It doesn't matter. With those who are in the minority, who may feel the process may not have been done as smooth, how do you build trust for those in the minority that this is the right project to do?
Yeah, let me answer that. It's called continued conversation. I have had an open door since I entered into this role in interim. And so I'll continue to have those conversations. I have led this district through transparency, and I have not kept anything secret. But you do have to do a little work and read. And so we'll continue to provide that information to our community. I will still continue to remain available, and I still will meet with community members so I can make sure everyone remains abreast of where we are.
And Dr. Golson, how long have those documents been available?
Yeah, so the question was, how long have the documents been available? Actually, any board meetings are posted on what's called board docs, and that information is accessible for many years. And our website, though there is a new public interface, all the content that's behind it is still the same. So that information is posted on our www.pgcps.org blueprint/blueprint. And that information is posted with the dates that it was posted as well. So we don't take it down, we keep it up. The Master Plan Support Project, as I've referenced before, that's been on our website for 5 years now.
I have a question. I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Tracy.
I have two questions. The first one being about the debt, the 1.24 billion. Does this go on the county's debt? Does this impact the county's bond rating? There were some folks who were in opposition asking that question. And then the second one would be about Southern Prince George's County. We're hearing from folks down there who are upset about the K through 8, saying that they were not included in the process, that there's no conversations that include the community about where these will be located, etc.
I will address the public debt issue. This will not count on the county's debt limit, count towards the county's bond debt limit. How it is set up is that there is a regular capital contribution from the county to PGCPS. That's a regular contribution, and so as Dr. Golson mentioned earlier, we are just reallocating a portion of that capital contribution to address these schools. There was a GASB report that came out, GASB 94 in June, that came out that talked about contributions for availability payments being seen as debt. However, we consulted with the with the county's auditors, our auditors, and determined because of the pre-existing contributory relationship, there's already a capital contribution. This is not a change in any way to that relationship. Thus, it does not trigger and does not impact the board and the bond limit that exists for the county.
And let me speak to the community, a civic association who voiced their concern around a K-8 in the southern part of the county. I just received, even as early as last night, an email from that civic organization saying, in no question, do they not support excellence for our children. Their issue really was around continued transparency. And as I stated before, I actually put in writing to them, I am committed to being at their civic association meeting every other month until forever, which means until I'm out of this position.
Can someone address minority business impact and how that was put into this legislation and what that's going to mean for minority business?
Good morning again. So as part of the work group that worked as part of this process, there were certain one of the briefings, and I actually want to recognize Councilmember Franklin, who raised the issue more recently. We actually sent a letter to the school system with respect to making sure that minority participation, particularly minority county-based participation, was part of the process. And so as I understand it, as the RFP and the procurement process went out, we do have the 30% requirement for county-based businesses and a 20% requirement for minority-based businesses in Prince George's County. As part of our conversation last week on the legislation to authorize the memorandum of understanding, we did get additional commitments from the vendor that will be hopefully be selected this evening by the Board of Education to do up to additional 20% more of the total with respect to county-based, minority-based businesses. So the 30% and the 20% were always the floor, the minimum, and we encouraged, and I was not, obviously, as elected officials are not part of the review of the responses to the RFP, but I understand that the selection of this particular vendor is because they exceeded the request of the others who were part of that process. So I think we're in a strong place, and obviously we appreciate President Harrington's words as well about having that opportunity for our county-based and particularly our minority-based businesses here.
Any concerns from anyone about this going away in the
Wait, hang on.
Just one more response.
Actually, two.
Let me just say, this is required procurement, not participation. So when we are saying that it's a minimum of $135 million over the next 3 years and a minimum of $225 million over the term, that is the required spend. So we're not going to play the game of that 30 companies participated, so we hit 30%. This 30% is on total contract value. And so that is the unique position that this contract allows us to ensure that there's clear wealth-changing and dynamic-changing investments into local businesses that can help build capacity so they're in a position to be primes as we go forward.
And the chamber worked with Jason and the county council, and thank you, Councilman Franklin, and others on the county council. We are very pleased with the percentages that are coming out. I want to underscore what Jason just said, that normally when you see these kind of contracts, they look at then thresholds with the terms of what is the level of participation. This is off of the money of the contract, which means that the 30% is off the millions of dollars that are going to come in, which means that then companies have a real opportunity to make tremendous value and money off of this program. Think about this for a moment. In a time of COVID, where we're losing 1/3 of all minority businesses, and then around the country, where we're losing only almost 50% of minority businesses, this county has decided to push against that with this project, and we'll be able to not only sustain the businesses that are in place, but also you can expect that there'll be new businesses now that will come together and join together with new LLCs that will come together that will take full advantage of this project. So I'm very confident that the numbers that have been expressed are valid. And keep in mind, this is just the first 6 schools. We're going up to 18. So this is a 30-year project. So imagine then that if you're a company, now you can really think about sustainability in Prince George's County, because we're talking about 18 schools with a 30-year project, that the dollars are going to be, that the content is going to be based on the dollars that are spent. There's no other place in the country that is doing that right now. And it's in Prince George's County, and we'll be the leaders in the country on how to sustain minority and small business.
A few questions for the county executive. Obviously, this is something that is very important to you. Did you tell the appointed members on the school board how you want them to vote tonight?
Oh, absolutely not. Absolutely not. I respect the members of the school board. I'm a person who values integrity and transparency, and these are professionals who don't need me to tell them one way or the other what to think. And again, everyone, well, let me just say it this way, the majority of both our school board members, because I believe this is going to pass tonight, and the majority of our council members, I really want to compliment. They have taken the time. Dr. Golson said it, and I'm just going to be honest about it. You do have to read. You have to participate. This information is not secret. It has not been hidden. All of the information we're providing today has been information that's been shared over and over and over again. And so that people understand, the vast majority of them, what we're asking, and they agree. They agree that this is a good value for our county, and that this is in the best interest of our children. And we promised a long time ago, we make decisions that are good for kids. That's what this is about. We're making decisions that are good for kids, and it just so happens that this is also an economic opportunity of a generation, an opportunity for us also to build our community economically. But I would never, I haven't even spoken with the people, to be honest with you, who I appointed. I've not had a single phone call with them about tonight's vote, and just wouldn't do it.
I asked that question because we got some information that when people were being interviewed to be appointees, they were told they could get calls from you ahead of votes indicating what you want to see happen, and the school construction plan was something that was specifically mentioned.
Oh, well, that's an LIE. I hate to say it that way. My grandmother would be so awful. I wasn't allowed to say the word lie when I was growing up in my household. But that is so untrue.
That the interviewee would tell that to the
That I would call somebody, but ask them how many calls they've gotten ahead of. I've never called anybody ahead of a vote, ever.
Could that have been told, though, to somebody being interviewed?
No, well, I wouldn't have told anybody that. I can tell you, I don't know who said what to whom, but I was the only person interviewing these folks, and I have never said anything like that. That is awful. It's absolutely awful. And, again, in this season, let me just say this, that the truth is important here. It is so important, and it is important that we not lose the trust of the people who have sent us to make decisions on their behalf. And it is awful that even in this season, and this is what we're seeing not only here but across the country, that sometimes it's easier to do the whole, we're not here to play the political kind of games, not with our children's education. It's too important. This is not about politics. This is about good policy and about progress. And that's what we're about.
There have been concerns for quite a long time that the appointed board members are not autonomous, that they're just a rubber stamp for the county executive. Do you still support an all-elected school board?
This has nothing to do with today. Can we stick to school construction? And so, again, I'm here to talk about building 6 schools, and we are going even further than that. I'm not here to talk about the composition of the school board. And again, what I have said is I have never, ever called a school board member ahead of any vote to ask them to vote. I respect them and have never done that.
Ms. Jacobs had a burning question, and then...
I don't have a question. I have a comment.
Oh.
I have something totally,
Well, Ms. Jacobs,
totally
you go.
different to talk about. I worked here for 7 years, and I stayed sick. The kids stayed sick. The heat didn't work. The air didn't work. So it's time that somebody do something for these kids over here in this community. Why should they have to come back to the same situation that I dealt with when I was working here? I used to go out to my car at lunchtime, crank my car up just to get warm. That is not fair. I have a great-grandchild that can't come here because he has asthma real bad. So I am saying to you, we are here. We deal with it in the community. And it's time that these kids over here got a nice school to go to, like your kids in Upper Marlboro, Bowie, Mitchellville. These children deserve that same opportunity. Thank you. And thank you.
Okay, so this is the last question.
One final question about what I mentioned about the parking lot. We just saw that P3 fall apart pretty much for the state. They're going to have to do a lot of work to get that project back online. There's some folks who are concerned about that being a possibility when you're dealing with private money that you don't control. Who would like to address?
So I'll go first, and I'm sorry, Jason will come up with the details. The first thing I would say, and I think we all agree, we're not the state. We're Prince George's County. The second thing, how many of you know that we already have a successful P3 partnership in Prince George's County? It's called the Clean Water Partnership, and we've had it for over 5 years now, using the Clean Water Act funding in order to do retrofits of environmental. And it's one of the programs that's now not only in the region getting recognition, but also now the businesses that are participating, particularly the minority businesses, and I know several of my colleagues have participated in the graduation ceremonies of those small businesses and minority-owned businesses because of the opportunities they're getting for doing that. So we've already have a successful P3 model in Prince George's County, and we've had it for years. And maybe we haven't done a good job in publicizing that schools are a lot more attractive than talking about stormwater management. But we have done so many projects in Prince George's County utilizing. So I think we have that as a background with respect to the work that we're going to do. When we understand this, several of us will not be here when this project is moving forward, but we understand this is an investment now. This is another opportunity for us to be able to meet the obligations for new schools in Prince George's County. And we've heard that loud and clear from the residents and the students and families here in Prince George's County. And this is just another opportunity. That's why this is called a pilot program. That's why the state called it a pilot, to see if it can work. And so, local government is about experimentation and doing things different. And so we're going to take this opportunity since we've been given it by the state. And I'll turn to Jason for more details on the differences as well.
Yeah, this will, I apologize to everybody now, this will be a little technical, but just to make it clear on how we have tried to mitigate the risk, because there's a risk with every project. And a few things that we've done, most know that the purple line, or has been publicly disclosed, was around schedule delay, lawsuits, and all of that. One of the things that we sought to do during the procurement was that we sought and did title searches and quieted all of the titles to all of the property. So it's our property. We don't need to go ask for easements. We don't need to negotiate and buy anything. Secondly, we did all of the phase 1 environmental reports and so soil borings and provided that in the red books, provided that to all of the developers. So they know the environmental conditions as we know them for all of the facilities. That led to a few of the lawsuits that delayed the beginning of the purple line. Now, stepping back as we looked at the contract, as mentioned earlier, the MOU that was passed provides a governance structure that starts as soon as we move into the effective date of the contract. That there is a tripart governance over this that will oversee us as we go forward. That's number one. Number two, in the contract, we have created the concept of an independent engineer that will call balls and strikes and will ensure that they are building the schools to our educational specifications, and that if there are any disputes, this is the arbiter that will decide them. So this will reduce the possibility of litigation or anything to slow down the progress of the schools. Also, we have at our election the ability to pull a site down. So if there is a facility that has a lot of undisclosed environmental issues or has a lot of disputes, we at our discretion can pull down that school site and replace it, or just pull it down so it does not impact the delivery of all of the other schools. And so additionally, we have put together what is known as a design build reserve account. That's funded by the developer, so that I know you will hear like, oh Lord, the cost may skyrocket and we won't know. No, this is a guaranteed price, and if there are additional unforeseen costs, they draw down from that reserve account, and money not used is contributed to the initial availability payment. And then finally, these schools are required to be delivered once we nail down the contract, July 15th, 2023. If they fail to meet that date, they are subject to liquidated damages of up to $1 million per school. And so, is this perfect? No, I'm sure there are other things that we could have come up with, but I believe we have created an appropriate structure that has mitigated a lot of the risk that's there. But there's a big component that's on us, is to make sure that we provide appropriate oversight and that we ensure that we are adhering to the objectives and the mandates that we have from the CEO and the county executive to get this done on time, on budget, and to ensure that these are world-class schools when they're done.